rebuilding. The catastrophic failure, a new start. Physically, mentally, our careers, our businesses. Step back, first step, next step. The driver in me just wants to get it done tomorrow. We'll do this, do that, let's move this, where are we at with this? You build some confidence, build some self-esteem, start to feel better about yourself. The Silverback Blueprint Podcast, a show for men over 40. We focus on getting stronger, staying motivated, building discipline, creating a community, and becoming truly happy. Hey guys, welcome to episode 43 of the Silverback Blueprint Podcast. Today we have an exciting interview going on today. We're hanging out today in Montreal. Are we actually in Montreal? Like, are we just outside of Montreal?
Dorval.
Dorval. It's almost as cool as Montreal. We're at Monster Gym Fitness City, a crazy huge facility. I've never seen anything like this. It's making my 13,000 square foot spot seem like a fucking shoebox, but that's okay. We'll strive to do better. But you know what's really exciting, guys? I am sitting here today with Claude Groulx. Claude Groulx, if you've done any bodybuilding, right, and you know me as a powerlifter, but bodybuilding is still a big thing and a passion for us. Claude Groulx has been competing. He actually won the Masters Olympia in 2003. So a great honor to be here today. I'd met Claude years ago in one of the stores I had. He'd come down and I have an autographed photo of him. It's up on the wall here too. And just right off the bat, super nice guy, super calm, but at the same time accomplished. And that's what I like. And then, as you know, guys, with the Silverback podcast, it's all about getting shit done over 40. So I'm going to turn this over to you, Claude. Tell us a bit about yourself. But the thing to remember, he won this Olympia. And how old were you?
I was 43.
43 years old, guys, and he won the Olympia. I mean, it's like the pinnacle of bodybuilding in the bodybuilding world. It doesn't get much higher than that, does it, Claude?
Not really. When you won the Olympia, you're number one in the world.
So you see, he's modest, eh? I'd be like, fucking right, motherfucker. Give me $100 just for saying that. Don't do that. So yeah, Claude, tell us a bit about yourself, how you got started, what's going on. Just let's get to know you, man.
I started training when I was about 19.
Okay.
And I was pretty small guys, and I wanted to get some more self-confidence. And I was invited with a friend of mine, a co-worker, that was going to a gym frequently, and he dared me to go with him, and he said, "You'll never last more than a week with me."
Awesome. What gym was that? Do you remember?
It was a small gym in Verdun. I can't remember the name. It was a very small gym.
Okay, cool.
I think it was Michel Pelletier gym, something like that. I don't know if you remember Michel. He was also accomplished bodybuilder, but in the...
What years?
In the beginning of the 80s.
So I remember another guy I met that did some stuff was André Elie, right? He won a bunch of shit in the 60s or 70s and stuff.
André started probably 45 years ago.
Yeah. And then he started making his own gym equipment.
Yeah.
I don't know if he still does that now. I've lost touch with him and stuff like that.
I spoke to him maybe about a year ago when he was still doing that.
I have an André Elie leg press at Hostile. I remember getting it. Still as smooth as the day I bought it like 20 years ago and stuff, so it's pretty cool.
His new line is pretty cool, actually.
Awesome. So and what happened? You came to the gym, you survived the week?
So he invited me. I went there for first training. Kind of loved it, the first training.
Right out of the gate.
I continue, and I would say I never stopped after that. I keep going like 3 days a week, because back then the gym was open 3 days a week.
The Monday, Wednesday, Friday?
Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. But the Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday was for the girls, because it was not a mixed gym.
Right. And what year was this again?
I would say it was about 79.
So how old were you then?
I was 19.
19. Okay, cool. And
I was there for probably 4 or 5 months.
Okay.
And the other guy disappeared.
Who lasted longer?
He was to quit, and he quit later on.
Wow, crazy.
And I would say probably after 2-3 years of training, the owner of the gym came up to me, and he just started talking to me. He said, "Hey, you got good potential. If you want to compete, I can help you." I said, "I don't know anything about competing. I'm just doing it for myself. Don't worry, I'll help you out. And if you think about it, and if you decide, I'm there to help you."
So at this point, you've been 2 or 3 years in. You're around 22, 23 years old.
Yeah, I was about towards the end of 21 years old. I was still in university, so it was kind of rough training in university. Right. So I told him, I said, maybe when I finish my course during the season, the summer, we can start training together, and maybe I compete. And I did that. It was the first show, Mr. Montreal, and I took second place for my first show. So
awesome.
I was pretty happy.
So from starting at 19 till 21, 22, I guess, when you competed, Mr. Montreal, how much size did you gain? What was that kind of progress like?
I was probably like 165 when I start.
Okay.
Then I went up to probably 195
Okay.
in about 2.5 years.
Right.
And I competed at 176.
Okay.
So it was a middleweight back
Middleweight back then?
First competition.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. Then a couple months later, I did the second one, was in Laval. And
Okay.
then I won that competition. So then it just gave me the
That
drive
was
to
the start.
continue.
Okay.
I said, wow, if I can win 2 shows, maybe I can go to the provincial.
Yeah.
So I waited another year. Then in '83, I won the provincial.
Okay.
And it was in '84, I did Eastern Canada.
Mm-hmm.
I won that show, but I didn't win the overall. So, and then I wanted to go to the Mr. Olympia.
Okay.
I was still a middleweight, so I said, no, I'm not going to do it as a middleweight. I have to go light heavy.
So how much more did you
So I
have
had
to gain?
to bring my weight to about 215 off season
Okay.
to compete at around 195.
Or one night. So you keep it pretty lean even with your off season though.
Yeah, I never passed really over 20 pounds.
Right, because you see some
off-season.
guys, right? You know, they're 260 in the off season,
Yeah.
and they're 190 on stage, and I'm like, that's crazy, right? That kind of thing.
I didn't believe really in going really overweight because I felt that after that, when you cut down, you have so much fat to lose that you lose too much muscle at the same time.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And
Especially
just doing it for strength in bodybuilding, there's no really reason for that. You know,
it's not strength based, right?
It's not strength based.
Aesthetics.
It's aesthetic. It's putting the muscle at the right place and balancing your body. Remember, I competed as a pro in the '90s.
Okay.
In the '90s, it was still about all the symmetry and the classic physique
look,
and
right?
small waist.
Yeah, Bob
So,
Paris, those kind of looks and stuff like that.
So
Right on.
you look at the big guy back then; they were not doing well.
Well, and today, I mean, if we look at, we just saw the Olympia just passed. So this is going to air in November. Back in September, the last Olympia just happened. And it's not the same look.
No, there's no aesthetic anymore.
It's aesthetic. They got the big gut,
Yeah.
GH gut, or whatever they call it going on. Even Arnold spoke out against it and stuff. And what's really cool for a lot of you guys listening to us that are in their 40s and beyond, you know, I grew up, you know, reading the muscle mags in my 20s when I got into training and stuff. I started in college, 19, and you know, big farm kid and wanted to lose a little bit of weight for the chicks and stuff. So I lost a little bit of weight, but I got strong and I fell in love with that. And then that confidence, well, that got me the girls, right? That kind of thing. So that worked out well. But I'll tell you right now, for me, the biggest thing, when I look at sports, I always try to pick out what's that one thing about that sport that I find separates the pros from the amateurs and separates, you know, the men from the boys, if you will. And I think with the bodybuilding, for me, it's always been the attention to detail and nutrition.
Yeah.
I think it's just, you know, I mean, I struggle with the weight loss and staying lean and stuff like that. I love the power thing. And as a power lifter, you kind of use it as a crutch. Oh, I got to be big because I'm strong. But, you know, I'm trying to get less fat over the years and still get stronger. But for me, when it came to bodybuilding, that's why I always looked at one thing when I look at it, I'm like, motherfucker, that's that challenge. To me, that's that critical thing. How do you feel about that? What would you say?
Well, I was known for a very disciplined guy. So when I would start my diet, let's say 16 weeks out, I would follow. And I heard the guy talking today, they do a cheat day, they do this.
Right.
But back in my days when we were doing it, the diet was you follow 1, 3, 4, 5, 6 meal, sometime with 2 shakes, but there was no cheating. You know, you would follow your diet very strict.
Right.
Over 16 weeks, you never cheated because cheating was when I consider myself an amateur.
Okay.
By the time I became pro, I said, if I want to beat these guys, I got to be more disciplined.
That little extra all the time.
Little extra discipline on training, little extra discipline on nutrition, on supplement. So you want to make sure you take your supplement morning, afternoon, night. So everything was like a military regimen. So that's what makes a difference for me.
Was that something that was natural for you with your character and your disposition? Have you always been more of an organized, detailed kind of guy, or is that something you learned because the passion of the sport required that? Like, what would you say?
I guess I learned it from the sports. You know, I knew that maybe my genetic was not as good as a Phil Heath or as Ronnie Coleman.
Right.
But I will compensate by having a very, very strict discipline.
So you would, and that's the one thing we run into a lot. We hear people, and I think a bit of a crutch, the genetics and stuff like that. For sure, we all have a predisposition for certain things, but there's a lot of great genetics in a lot of sports that never got, actualized or maximized, right? So I find it's always when you have to work a little harder to compensate on something else, I find you actually become a better version of what you're doing because you got to work it hard because there's a lot of guys out there with all kinds of talent that haven't done fuck all with it, right? And I think that's
it's kind of funny. It's ironic in a way because in my pro career I met some people with great genetic like Flex Wheeler. some guys that they're just amazing, but they were not so disciplined when it comes to the food, nutrition. They were on and off because they count too much. They rely too much on their genetic and their body, and
it allowed them to get away with it, right?
They get away to a certain point, but there is a reason why Flex never won the Olympia. You know,
it
was lacking a little bit of discipline. That Ronnie was pretty a disciplined guy, even he had a great genetic. Discipline-wise, training and nutrition, he was very, very strict.
You know what's really cool is because at the end of the day, that does make the biggest difference. And I find people with a lot of God-given talent or genetics or whatever you want to call it, I think they suffer later on because when it comes down to the point where that's not enough, or you might have fantastic genetics, but so do the other 8 out of 10 guys on that stage, it comes down to discipline and focus and detail. And if you haven't acquired those skills as you were younger growing up, it's really hard to nail that shit down when you're 32 or 28 or whatever. It's not natural. So there's a big steep learning curve, I find. And some guys can pull it off because the passion for what they do is so high. We deal with clients over 40 years old, and I think you do as well. And those are some of the big things, is creating those new habits and the consistency. And we both know that if you follow your nutrition and you do these things, it's going to happen. The hard part, the human factor, is Mr. Smith or Mrs. Jones. That's where they struggle. Yeah. That's the real struggle overall, right? And that's really the thing that sometimes we have to work the hardest on, is to get them to get better at that overall. What do you think about that?
Yeah, especially when you're young, you're in the 20s or early 30s, you can get away with a bit slacking off on your discipline. Yep. But when you reach 40 years old, even 45,
it's harder.
Then you have to be really strict. And Absolutely. It's become harder if you didn't follow anything strict for the last couple of years.
I think that's it. I think when we go through that midlife, when we have to really change some big things, it takes a Herculean amount of effort to be able to do it. And it can be done, but that's where I think having a good coach, I think having a good facility, a good group around you, that'll help you with that accountability and that community, because you need a lot of help and you need a lot of reassurance and more of a team at that point, because on your own it's gonna be really fucking hard to do.
No, it's gonna be hard, and especially with the social life. Then you meet people and they're trying to push drinks on you, or
right?
Eat a little bit more, eat this or drink this.
Oh, come on, what's one more?
Let's go to the club.
That's not fun. Are you really happy? We hear it all the time.
It's not going to hurt you that much. It's only once, you know.
Yeah. Or how many times are we dealing with someone where that person in the house is trying to change their life, so the husband or the wife, but the partner, the spouse, they're like, they don't want to hear anything about it. They don't want to, or they don't want you to change, right? We run into a lot of those dynamics where at home, where it's the biggest, environment influence, is the rest of the house isn't ready to back you up on that, because no one likes change. Right? So we run into that a lot. Well, normally you take the kids to hockey, or normally you do this, and you can survive, and this is important, we'll make adjustments, but no one likes change. Yeah. And I think when that's
most difficult, the difficult thing is to understand that you can change.
You can.
Over 40, sometimes you think, I'm over the hill, so it's too late to make some changes. Yeah. But once you put it in your head and you start doing it and it's happening, then you get the reward from it, and then it starts clicking.
The big thing I try to tell people is that once we hit over 40, we're halfway. This way, if we live to be 100, that's great, as long as it's not in a chair or in a bed, right? But a lot of times when I run into guys over 40 coming to see us, and I'm sure it's the same with you, they're in a position where they've got the time to do things, they've got the money to do things, but they don't have the self-esteem, the confidence, they don't have the plan. They're just lost, and they get stuck in that. So then I think the natural will say, well, I'm too old now. Right? And I think it's bullshit, right? I think there's a lot to be done. Like I said earlier, at 49, I'm benching more than I did at 39, and I still have goals to hit. But you know what? I don't drink anymore. It's 3 years that I'm sober. That made a big difference. In my 20s, I'd fucking drink till 4 a.m, meet the guys at the gym at 5:30, heavy bench, throw up, and then go back and stuff. I can't do that shit anymore. No. That stuff doesn't work. So in the 90s, how far did you go? How did that work out for you?
I started competing in 95 as a pro.
Okay.
First year, I took 4th place in the Toronto Pro Show.
Okay.
I did the Montreal Pro Show a couple of weeks later. I took 4th also.
Okay.
So it was pretty good that year. The Flex magazine gave me award the Rookie of the Year. So
how old were you as a rookie there?
Yeah, well, I was not that young. I was 32 years old.
I
turned pro at 32.
Awesome.
But that's when I thought that I had everything together, and then I could compete with these guys, because I didn't see a point of turning pro at 28 or 27 and then I don't do well in the pro circuit.
Right.
Then you get discouraged and everything. I said, I won the Canada overall in '92.
Okay.
I could have turned pro back then, but
Right.
so I don't have enough size. I'm not going to get killed on this on a pro stage with these guys of 240, 260.
So would you say, like, for you, the bodybuilding also has long become a way of life for you? So that point, that's part of who you are, is bodybuilding and stuff. And then is there a point where you realize that, you know, like you said, the quality is more important? You know, if you're not ready, you'll spend a few more years getting ready. Is that kind of how you looked at things?
Yeah, for me, I wasn't on a mission to do it as soon as possible.
Okay.
My goal was just to become pro first and make few shows and just enjoy it.
See where it goes from there.
And when I start doing well and start getting rewarded, I said, well, maybe I can do the Olympia one day. So
Okay.
my goal became very quickly from the first 2 years to reach the Olympia stage.
So this is 92 that you
So,
won overall in Canada?
94, I won my second time overall Mr. Canada.
Okay.
It was in Toronto.
Okay.
And I decided to take the pro card that year, and
Okay.
I start competing in 95.
And then, so now what level are you going? Are you going into the States at this time? Are you?
At this time, I did the first show. The first 2 shows of the year was in Toronto and Montreal.
Okay.
And then I got invited by Wayne DeMilia to do the Night of Champion in New York.
Oh, okay.
Which was,
that was a big show.
It was really nice. It was a big show.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I took 7th place, which was pretty good over like about 26 guys.
Well, and that's the other thing too, right? As you started getting higher up in the quality and the ranks,
Yeah.
so did your competition.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
So all of
yeah,
a sudden,
yeah.
you know, 7th there, you know, I'm sure you were in much better shape than you were when you won first somewhere else.
Of course.
Right? That kind of
So
thing.
when you start, you just go to any show, any pro show.
Right?
When you move to the next level, is by invitation.
Oh, okay.
So like the Night of Champion was by invitation. The Arnold Classic by invitation.
Okay.
Now you move another level, which is the Mr. Olympia. You have to be qualified to go there. It means finishing top 3 in one of the pro shows.
Okay. So how did that happen for you? At what point did you finish top 3? What year? And
What happened? I took decision in '96
Okay.
after my second year of competing, and I did well in '96 also. They gave me another award, Best Improved Athlete of the Year.
okay.
So I said, okay, I need to make a move. I'm not going to make a career in bodybuilding
How
in
old are
Canada.
you at this time now? At 96?
I was 35.
35. Okay.
I said, I need to move to California. That's my
Oh.
only way to
where you gotta go.
advance to the next level.
Okay.
And I moved in '96 to California. Did a couple show and start training people at the Gold Gym in Venice.
The Mecca.
Meeting other bodybuilders, getting the motivation and everything. And I kept moving up until '98, where I qualified for my first Olympia.
Okay.
So it was the San Francisco show.
Okay.
And I took 3rd place there, and I qualified for my first Olympia '98.
Okay.
And about 2 weeks later, I got invited by Joe Weider at his office and received a contract for as a Weider athlete.
Wow.
I was one of the first Canadians after
that.
Paul Delit
Paul
to do
Delit.
this. Yeah.
How old are you at this point now?
I'm this 98. I'm 37. Yeah.
So we're getting close to 40.
Yeah.
As you're approaching 40 and this is all happening, are you feeling, hey, listen, I'm peaking? Are you feeling there's still lots left? Like, what's your mindset at that point? Like, do you even? There's no way you're probably even feeling your age because you're in great shape.
No, in
and stuff like that.
bodybuilding, I think you can peak until your 40s.
Right.
There's no problem about that, especially when you never stop. And you keep improving your body years after years. I felt I was getting better years by years.
Because time in, especially with something like, I think, for muscle building and conditioning, powerlifting, barring injuries, time in actually has a lot to do with your going further. One thing that you talked about that I think is really important, and we talk about this in some of our other podcast episodes, is you actually physically changed your environment. You moved to California to be among higher level caliber, to be in. And we talk a lot about when we want to make real changes in our life, we have to change our environment. We talk about the circle of 5, our circle of influence and stuff. And now to go to where you want to be, you have to make some of those changes. But I'm sure that wasn't an easy decision either. Was it easy for you to say, fuck it, I'm out of here, let's go?
Not easy. I had to sold everything and just take a chance and leave with $10,000 in my pocket and hope for the best.
And in California, 10,000 Canadian, that's about 800 US.
Yeah, it lasts you about 2-3 months.
Yeah,
you're done.
for sure. But you know what? Looking back, obviously the best thing you did?
I think it was a good move because if I didn't do that, I would probably never got a contract with Weider. I would have never reached Olympia level. So.
Fantastic. So now you're 37, 38. You've got a contract. What's it like for the next couple of years? Now we're getting into the interesting part for me, being over 40. You know, you're still getting better. You're still improving.
Yeah.
What's happening now?
Well, just sitting with Joe in his office and hearing him telling me that he likes my body, he sees potential in me, and signing me a contract on the spot.
Yeah.
That gave me a level of motivation that it's hard to...
Kind of hard not to be motivated at that point.
Yeah, so now I was disciplined. Now I got to get even more disciplined.
Cool.
Especially that in the Weider contract, they wanted you to make some appearances,
Okay.
some guest poses, some photo shoots. So
Right.
you always had to be in shape all year round.
So how close to competition shape would you try to maintain at this point now? Would you be like 4 weeks out? Would you
they
be
ask
6
you
weeks
to
out?
be 2 weeks away from a guest pose, and they expect you to guest pose in a decent shape.
Okay.
And a photo shoot, about the same thing. They ask you to be in decent
So they'll give you
shape
2
for
weeks
photo shoot.
notice for a photo shoot or a guest
Yeah.
appearance.
Yeah.
So, but when you're at that point, they give you 2 weeks to get ready. How many weeks from that point would you be ready for the stage? Let's say, would that be
I
6
would
weeks
say
away?
probably 6 to 8 weeks.
6 to 8 weeks. So you have even more discipline required at this point, right?
You have,
How
to
was that?
keep, you have to keep your body around 12, 13% body fat. So.
I think that's the other thing too. When we talk about percent body fat, everyone looks at, you know, oh my God, you know, you got to be 3% body fat. I mean, you don't walk around with that kind of percent body fat. 10, 12% body fat is freaking lean to begin with. People don't realize it.
Looking really good for the average person.
Absolutely. Happily take your shirt off to mow the
lawn. If you step
lawn.
on stage as a guest poser because you got so much mass,
Right.
you're still gonna look good to guest pose at 12%.
And you're by yourself usually at this point
Yeah,
too, so you
yeah,
don't have guys
yeah.
in better condition beside you and stuff like
that's
that,
it,
right? So, like you said, you have to take the discipline to the next level. What was that like? Was that challenging? Was it even more challenging? Was it just you're so motivated at this point? It was easy. Like, what was that for you going to that even next higher level?
I guess just being surrounded there in Venice Beach with all the athletes, even the pro wrestler were there. There's actors, actresses, photo shoot going on almost every day in that gym.
Yeah.
That gym, the feeling you feel in that gym, it's unreal. All my best workout, I got them there.
That environment is so
the environment
important.
is so powerful. You just get in and you have to get a great workout.
So when we talk about hanging out with people at higher levels, so we become a higher level, that's so important, right? So, you know, being sober for 3 years, I go back to that a lot because a lot of guys I talk to and deal with are either, you know, becoming sober or drinking less or changing the quality of life. Who I hang out with now is radically different than who I used to, you know, and it's not because I have issues with people I hang out with. It's just I don't want to do those things anymore. So I have to change who I hang out with people that do, you know, the things I want to do.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing to do because you have to leave some people behind and you have to move forward with it. And some people might look at you and saying, what an ass.
Yeah.
And some people might look at you also with a little bit of respect saying, oh, he's making those fucking changes, right? Because deep down, and I, you know, tell me what you think on this, but I think every guy wants to be better. Every guy wants to be a little tougher. Every guy wants to be a little stronger, mentally and physically. We feel there's a warrior within us. And I think, you know, the closer we can get to working on that, I think the happier we become. What do you think about that?
I think it's even more true as you get older because it's always good to look younger. So when if you train for 15, 20 years, when you reach 40, you're going to look 30.
Yep.
Always people were telling me, how old are you? I would say 45. So, oh my God, I thought you were 35.
Yeah. Well, how old are you now?
Now I'm 56.
You don't look.
People
you
tell
don't
me you look like 46,
Exactly.
47. So I always
Exactly.
look about 10 years younger than my age.
Yeah.
It's basically from the good nutrition and the training 4, 5, 6 days a week.
How do you feel?
And not being so overweight during my off season.
Yes.
Because,
Wear and tear.
This
absolutely.
taxes your body terribly when you go up 30, 40 pounds off season.
What at 56? How do you feel? How do you feel inside? How do you feel mentally?
For 56 years old, I feel great.
Awesome.
But I can't compare myself when I was in my early 40s. Even at 43, I consider I was at the peak of my career. I was the best shape of my life at 43.
Right.
I felt strong. I felt injury-free.
Invincible.
So this was one of the things that made a difference too, is to stay injury-free. Because as long as you don't get injured, you can keep improving your body and getting better. But when the injuries start getting you, shoulders, lower back, knees, and sometimes it's just a stupid mistake that we do, trying to impress someone, not warming up enough.
Listen, we're still 18 on the inside, right?
Yeah,
and I think
true.
that's what I tell the guys a lot is that, you know, that 18-year-old, we want to harness some of that, you know, but at the same time, we have to tell it when to shut up, you know, and it's right. It's, you know, maybe it isn't about going heavier today. Yeah. As a power lifter, there's days where I just don't hit as heavy because it's just not feeling right. Yeah. Maybe I didn't sleep well. Maybe I haven't eaten well. Maybe I'm just beat up. You know, I've learned a long time ago that there's going to be a lot more bench sessions. So it's okay if it's not quite that one. I believe in working really hard.
Yeah.
But you know when your body's had enough that day.
Yeah.
You know when mentally you're not quite focused. You know, I think you need to listen to that. And this whole pushing beyond that certain types of pain, I think that's ridiculous, because once you have that injury, you're screwed. One of the reasons why I can bench more now at 49 is because I've never had a major injury, because I listen to my body.
That's it.
At the end of the day. And I think it's the same for anyone. You know, we talked about this before with pro athletes now playing into their 40s, you know, in sports they were normally would have retired in their 30s. And, you know, a lot of people want to sit there and say, well, it's because of the money. And I'm like, well, I think money's a factor, but if you've lived a passion for something for so long and you love it and it's who you are, I believe that's why you want to get better, so you can do it longer.
Yeah, you look at guys like Jaromir Jagr.
Yeah.
This guy is still enjoying it. He's still like a kid on ice.
Absolutely.
As long as he's having fun.
And he's amazing still.
He's injury-free, so he's still amazing.
He's not like when he was 20, but even him in his 40s still kicks the ass of most of the 20-year-olds out there.
This is the level of fitness is amazing. People that they met him, they say this guy is out of this world as far as condition.
So let's talk now about it's Olympia time. You're about to win your first Olympia. You're 42?
Well, my first Olympia, 43.
43 years old.
Yeah.
Your first Olympia. Did you win that one?
I won that one. It was not my first Olympia. My first Olympia was 98.
Oh, okay.
Which was the big show with the younger crowd.
Okay.
I didn't make the top 10, but it was quite an impression. It was my first Olympia, and got all the attention, all the press conference.
It's the World Series of bodybuilding.
It's in Vegas, you know.
Yeah,
it's quite an accomplishment for me. That's what I wanted.
Yeah.
Then I said, okay, I'm going to continue training. I had a contract with Wheeler.
Yeah.
And I qualified again 5 more times. So,
wow. And now did you go 5 more times?
I did 5 Olympia plus 1 Master.
And so what was your best showing in the Olympia? And then obviously you won the Master. So what did you see there?
My best showing was 12th place in the Olympia. I never broke the top 10, but maybe because I started a bit late. I started my first Olympia, I was 38 already.
Okay.
But the Master, from my first try, I won the Master. It was the year before was Vince Taylor.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And that year I was expecting to compete with him, but I guess he got injured or something. He pulled out of the competition.
Okay.
There was still quite a few contestants there, and I beat every day, hands up. Was first place by every judge.
That's fantastic. So so you win the Olympia. You're 44 now. What do you want?
43.
The Master? 43. And at the same, what were you weighing? What was your body weight back then? Competition style.
On that stage, I was 228.
So even 228 with lean is a lot of fucking muscle, but 3.5% body fat.
Best shape of my life.
Amazing. It all dialed in. All the experience came in. But still, winning that at 228, you definitely weren't the biggest guy on that stage.
There was maybe 1 or 2 guys bigger than me.
Yeah.
Most of them, they were in
Not
the range
quality
between 200 and 230.
Awesome. Awesome.
But you have to remember, I'm 5'7". So,
no, absolutely.
So 228 at 5'7".
You're pretty massive.
It's equivalent of 250 maybe at 5'10".
Yeah. And at 3.5% body fat, there's very little body fat. You got veins on top of your veins and stuff like that.
Glutes was striated. I had everything.
So best you've ever done, big win. Did you feel that was like you said, this was your best ever? Was that your, like, when you look back and say, hey, I did it?
I felt it not from the result, just the way I felt in my body. The day leading to the show, the night before,
you knew
my skin was so tight I felt like I was wearing a diving suit or something.
Amazing.
It was an amazing feeling. It was not comfortable, actually.
Wow.
I felt that I was too tight, actually. It's not a condition you can keep for so long.
No, but that's but you want to be at that point for that day, for sure.
And I remember the Friday night before the show, I went to the sauna. I took like a 10-15 minute sauna, and I had veins all over my body. I never seen my body so vascular.
I think
the day after the show, I did a photo shoot outside in the sun. And it was the same thing, same feeling.
Crazy.
And,
crazy. Plus,
it's probably one of my best photo shoots.
On your huge high, too, mentally, a huge accomplishment, that kind of thing as well. So, and you're doing this at 44 years old.
Yeah,
you know,
43, 44. I continued till 46. I retired at 46, actually.
So you retired at 46. Yeah. What happened now from 46 to 56? 10 years now. You did amazing things in your 40s. We hear the excuses all the time. Well, I can't do stuff because I'm like over 40 now. Here's a huge example of, well, that's bullshit. You can do amazing things, right? It's just don't give up and have those passions. But from 46 to 56 now, what's happening with Claude Groulx?
Well, I had a boy actually at 46. My little
right.
son Maxime was born.
Okay, cool.
So the bodybuilding and professional career at my level requires so much sacrifice.
You don't raise a family
I
on
want to
that.
live for my boy. I want to
Yeah.
live for my family.
Yeah.
So I decided to retire. Also, it was a 10 years career. I did 43 pro shows.
Amazing.
So I really pushed my body. Because
Yeah.
you have to remember back then, we used to do the first show of the year usually was in California, the Ironman.
Yeah.
It started like in February.
And you had the circuit, right?
It will lead up. We'll do like 4 or 5 shows all the way to the Olympia. So you already had 4 or 5 shows in that year.
Yeah.
Then they send you to Europe to do the Grand
The
Prix.
European Grand Prix, I remember
Grand Prix
that.
was 3 or 4 shows in a row
Yeah.
in a period of 2 weeks. Sometime you'll be competing in Germany. Then they'll fly you after the show to Finland. You got a show 2 days later.
Jesus. So you're competing at this time with the Samir Banus. You're competing with Gasperi's coming on at this point, Monzer and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Awesome.
all these guys. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I mean, who you're rubbing shoulders with.
Yeah.
Right? That kind of thing, right?
Because I started in the 90s. 90s, you still had some guys that they were towards the end of their career that I had a chance to compete with.
Yeah.
And the new guys were coming up.
It was probably
Flex,
like the
Flex,
coolest.
Chris Cormier.
They were just starting.
Yeah, they were just
right?
starting.
And then just ending would have been the
Mike
Gasperi's
François
and François Benfato and
Yeah,
stuff like
Benfato
that.
was
yeah,
there. Yeah.
It's great. And that was kind of probably for me, those are the years I read the magazines the most. And I followed and I went to the Arnolds back then, in the 2000. I met a bunch of these guys and, to see them on a magazine and then all of a sudden, meet them for a couple of minutes. But for me, for you, for what you've done in the sport and to sit down and spend time with you is incredible. That's a big thing for me personally. But I think it's also great for our listeners to hear that it's the focus, it's the discipline, it's the time in, but having the bigger goals, having the big why, I think is so important overall. For you now, so you do personal training now. You're out of Munster Gym.
Yeah, I became a naturopath about 3 years ago.
All right.
And also I do posturology. I took a course on posture.
Okay. As I'm sitting up straighter when he says that.
Yeah. So I look for muscular and balance in the body.
Now he's looking me over like a machine. I love it.
Yeah. It's true because when I took that course, I started looking at my clients differently.
For sure.
You see people sometimes squatting a little bit twisted.
Yeah.
You don't know how to fix it. You tell them, watch it, but...
Well, and you're seeing this, but it's being caused down here.
It's caused by the feet or by the eyes. So when you solve the cause, then the problem goes away.
And stuff
but
like
just by giving extra exercises, sometimes people are weaker on one side.
Balancing.
They do a couple more sets on that side, it doesn't work. It's not a question of adding more set or lifting heavier. It's a question of neuromuscular activation.
Going after
normally the
areas.
weaker side doesn't activate properly, doesn't fire as much as the other side. So you got to fix the posture to have a proper firing of the muscles.
Very interesting. So now, what type of clientele are you focusing on? Who's coming to see you? Who is your avatar, your niche that you're seeing?
And I got a large variety of customer. I got people that want to compete.
Okay.
I got women that want to lose weight. I got guy in their 40s and 50s that they just want to get back in shape. So I mix it all. So I don't want to specialize just in bodybuilding.
Okay.
When you do that, you're busy during the contest season. Then contests are over, then you lose your customer.
And most bodybuilders don't have any money, unfortunately. I think that's the other thing too, right?
Yeah, it's fun. I still have the passion to help people competing.
Yeah.
But I'd rather be more with people who can help in their 40s and 50s.
So going into that, and obviously because of what our show is and who we are, when you're dealing with guys over 40, what are the top 2 or 3 things that you see that you run into, or you see that, if I'm dealing with someone over 40, I know there's 2 or 3 things. If I work with them specifically on first, like the low-hanging fruit issues, the moment we start fixing those, it makes a huge difference, and then we can start going there. So what is it that, when someone comes in, a guy over 40 comes in, what are one of the first couple of things you like to work with a guy over 40, 50?
Usually, like I said, I will look for a muscular imbalance.
Okay.
Because when you start fixing their balance, you start fixing the muscular disparity, you avoid injuries.
Okay.
People always get injured because they have one side that fires more than the other side. They have a weaker part of the body that other part compensating.
Okay.
So you want to try to balance the person first before you start doing heavy lift.
So is this, someone coming in with a specific injury, or are you running into stuff where, they work at a computer all the time, so they're hunched forward a lot. There's a lot of imbalances there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's basically, you see a lot of that
you
happening.
look at the background of the person.
Right.
If it's a sedentary person, then you don't want to start too hard.
All right.
Then depending on the age, you work on the cardiovascular.
You get them breathing better.
I'm using Kaatsu training now, which is a Japanese technique.
Okay, so tell us a bit more about that. I know
Yeah.
you just came back from spending a few weeks. How long ago were you overseas?
I went to Japan last December.
Okay.
And a couple months later, I went to China also for seminars.
Okay, awesome.
And I did the training over there, so I became a Kaatsu Specialist.
Okay.
And I'm the first one here in Canada that has the machine.
Okay.
So it's called a Kaatsu Nano.
Kaatsu
So it's
Nano,
a kind of small computer with a compressor. You put arm bands and leg bands, and the computer control the exact pressure, the exact PSI that you want to put on each arm.
Right.
You can put more pressure on one side if you want to focus more on one arm.
Okay.
And the research on it show a big physiological impact when you do Kaatsu. The fact of restricting the blood flow increase the lactic acid to a really high level.
Okay.
The brain responds to that immediately by releasing growth hormone. So for someone over 40s, it's a great advantage.
Perfect, yeah.
The other thing that happened, because there's a blood flow restriction, the nitric oxide is also released by the body because the body wants to dilate the arteries to push more blood because there's no oxygen going and there's too much lactic acid. So nitric oxide goes up also. So it gives you a better pump.
Yeah, so that's the cosmetic bodybuilding, you know, I feel it and stuff. So when they're wearing these cuffs on their arms or legs, are they actually working out at the same time now?
Well, there's two techniques you can do with the Kaatsu. There's one that's called Kaatsu cycle, which is a kind of a recuperation cycle. It lasts about 10-15 minutes.
Okay.
And it's pressure on for 20 seconds, pressure up 5 seconds.
Okay.
And you just do movement, free weight.
Okay.
It's just to pump the blood, but...
So if you're doing, let's say, bicep curls, you're not trying to curl a 135-pound barbell at this point?
You're going to use maybe just 10-15 pounds.
Just to get a little bit of activation.
Going through the motion and getting a pump.
I was going to say, going for the pump and stuff.
The other technique is to do a real training with the Kaatsu.
Okay.
But the advantage is by restricting the blood flow, the white muscle fiber works pretty good when there's no oxygen. Okay. So when you reduce the oxygen, you're firing your white muscle fiber.
Okay, you're focusing more on that.
So even if you lift 20 reps with a lighter weight, you're still focusing on your white fiber.
And what's the advantage of white fiber?
The white fiber is the power. That's what increases your power. The one that the most hypertrophic.
The biggest size
fiber.
Comes from.
So it gives you size, gives you strength.
So that sprinter look versus the marathon look, right? We're going more for the thicker muscle bellies. So now, when you first started telling me this, I asked you, is it similar to inclusion training, which is something we're seeing a lot where they use bands and wrap. So it's similar, but now it's just smarter.
It's similar, but we call it blood flow moderation. So you don't really cut the blood flow.
Right. Completely. You're not just wrapping shit up tight and then trying to do a workout.
It has to be a proper predetermined PSI. Okay. According to the size of the muscle of the person, according to the age, according to the
so a lot more
level.
Factors and specifics.
A lot of factors that we go through when we take the course to be able to be a specialist, so you know how to use it properly.
What's the typical session time for that? Like when someone comes in, do they come in 2-3 times a week? Do they come in? How does that work? How do you?
Usually, I use it a lot for a weaker body part. Okay. Like somebody has problem to build his calf.
Right.
We do like a 2 session of calf training a week. Okay. Within a few weeks, you see a big change.
Really? So it's not something you have to do ongoing. It's more of let's correct an imbalance. Let's focus on an area, and then you can move on.
You can focus on different area. The other thing that's happened in the body when you do Kaatsu is the muscle cells increase. You're talking about the satellite cells. Right. Those are the cells that they give the nutrition, that they give the oxygen, that they give the nitric oxide to the muscle. They're the one they feed it. And they repair. Okay. The numbers of cells double instantly when you do a Kaatsu session for about 36 hours. Really? So you can take advantage of that window of time. And let's say we do an arm workout today. Right. Tomorrow you can repeat your arm workout.
Because you're recovering so much faster.
You have twice as much cellular cells, satellite cells. It pumps your muscle like crazy even when you don't wear the band the next day.
So a guy like me, bench press guy, where would I use that? Would I focus it on triceps, on shoulders? Like what would I want to do with that to get better output for my pressing?
For you it would be mostly tricep and shoulders.
Okay, interesting. So I think I'll come down and we'll do a couple sessions.
You could do 1 session a week. And you'd see a big difference.
Really, yeah?
The other thing that's happened is extravascularity. The blood vessels, especially capillaries.
I'd love to have a vein someday.
Capillaries increase because your brains start feeling there's not enough blood going, not enough toxic coming out. Right. So release the endothelial cell growth factor.
Okay.
Create new capillaries.
So
The more capillaries you
rejuvenation.
have, the better for your muscle.
Holy shit.
You pump more blood, you pump more oxygen, you pump more nutrient.
Wow. How's that? So now you're certified. You're one of the first guys in Canada, if not the only guy in Canada. What's it like trying to sort of pioneer that new technology and that kind of thing? What's the response been like?
For me, it's been great. I could say now probably about 60% of my private session are done with Kaatsu. People, they see the result.
Because you've got your following, so obviously they believe and trust you. So if you come up, hey guys, I got something new, they're like, all right, throw it on, let's go, fuck, right?
I got the study to back it up too.
For sure.
And if you go on YouTube, you look Introduction to Kaatsu, there's a 4-minute video there.
That
Explain all the physiological benefit of it.
But I think the other cool thing about it as well is because of who you are and your reputation. When you do to bring something, I think a lot of people will be like, well, we know Claude, we trust him. You know, you've built that know, like, and trust factor.
Yeah.
So when you introduce something new, they're actually excited with you because, hey, if Claude's excited, I'm fucking excited, right? So really interesting. Does it extend the length of the session? So is it typically you do an hour session and then when we add the inclusion,
The Kaatsu session is about 15 minutes per muscle, per body part.
And would you just incorporate that during that session, or would it be a
There's two
specific
ways.
session?
You can do it at the beginning, you can do it at the end of the session, like your last exercise, you can do the first exercise.
Okay.
Or sometime I would do the full workout with the Kaatsu. But normally a
Interesting.
Kaatsu session won't last more than 30 minutes.
Now, is that because there's some tolerance for the person, or
It's normally safety matters too.
Okay.
So 30 minutes under blood flow moderation, it's kind of the limit for the legs. And for the arms, we're talking about 20 minutes.
So do you find that people get a little lightheaded when they're on it sometimes at first because of the restriction?
The beginning, you gotta go a bit slowly because
Right.
sometimes people feel nauseous a little
Right.
bit.
So their
sometimes
first session
lightheaded.
typically isn't like 100 rep squats.
Especially people with low blood pressure.
Yeah.
They might feel lightheaded the first session, but eventually the blood pressure problem normalizes with
Because of that as well.
Yeah.
Amazing stuff. So here's my question: you're 56. What's next? What do you want to keep working on? What do you see for Claude going forward?
Right now, I'm just trying to stay in shape. I'm not planning to go back to competition.
And we were videoing some of this, right? And it's funny, when we were walking down the hall and Claude was in front of us, and I look back at Steph and I'm like, look at the fucking back. You know what I mean? Like, it's beautiful, right? And that's the big thing, is just to be able to maintain that, right? And work on it. I think it's super important. And at 56, like you said, you feel damn good for 56.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I don't feel my age at all.
And what's happening is that when we're 49, 56, and 60s and stuff, people around us are dying. People around us are and you know, I'm always like, I don't care how long you live. If a buddy died at 62 and he had a great life, he's awesome. But we know with a lot of the clients we deal with, they're not having a great life.
No.
Right?
And I think nowadays, 60 years old is not considered old anymore.
Not
you
anymore.
talk about 40 years ago, when you talk to someone 60, usually they were not mobile, they were out of shape, they had a heart attack already. But
people are
people at
investing
60
more.
today, they're still in good shape.
Well, and they want to be, and they can be. So, you know, back when you started training and I started training, people looked at us funny.
Yeah.
So, you know, what are you doing that for? Oh, wait till you're 30, you're not going to be able to move.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? At 49, I have aches and pains, but I move better than a lot of my 49-year-old friends.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? So I think that the world has changed on that, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's like when whey protein first came out. You know, Claude, you talked about having your protein shake back in the 70s and stuff like that. I remember when I started training, the protein shakes, they were horrible back then. You know what I mean? You'd sit there, and I remember blending up, an amino egg white protein and blending it up, and as it stopped blending, all the powder would just come back up to the top. And
it tastes like chalk.
It tastes like shit. And then today, when I have someone turn around and, I don't like the way this chocolate fucking protein tastes. I'm like, holy fuck, man. 30 years ago, you would have passed out and gagged. It's unbelievable.
I remember guys who had to put ice cream in it to make it taste
palatable.
decent.
Do you remember the amino acids, the 3,250 milligram Northern Lights amino acids?
Yeah,
they were the size of your thumb. And I remember
Choke
at
on
first eat 1 or 2, and by the end I could swallow like 15. I'm like, just come on, let's do it and stuff like that, right? Yeah. And that's why, one of the things I talk about today is that when people complain about, the salted caramel protein doesn't taste as good as, I'm like, what the fuck? That's your biggest dilemma. Let's go.
I think
hard.
it's much easier today to be
much more
on healthy diet, especially with all those food prep that they have everywhere. You can buy a meal for $7-8 bucks.
And it's a culturally thing now where, what do you mean you don't work out 3 days a week? What do you mean you don't go to the gym and stuff like that? So we kind of have that denominator that's changed, but then we're back into most people don't work hard enough. Most people don't focus enough, or they come in and have a couple great workouts and they go straight for wings and beers afterwards and stuff too, right?
Yeah.
It's the whole thing overall.
And the thing also, they might be motivated for 4 or 5 weeks, and then they go away for 2-3 weeks, and they come back.
Fall off track, right?
So they're not really improving. They're just maintaining.
And that gets frustrating, going around in that circle and stuff like that. I think we're almost done for today. Anything? Is there a website we can go to? Is there any place we can? I mean, we're going to put some show notes up on our podcast here and stuff. Where would you like to send people to check more things out about what you're up to?
There's my Instagram, which is Kaatsu Canada.
Okay.
My Facebook also, you can find me on
what are you
Claude
under?
Groulx IFBB Pro.
Okay, Claude Groulx IFBB Pro.
And I'm actually the distributor for the Kaatsu equipment for Canada. So,
awesome. So you're going to look at developing that aspect of the business, certification.
Developing the business aspect.
Love it. Yeah. Well, you know what?
For physiotherapist, for trainers, for coach.
Yeah.
It's a great equipment.
It's a great way to do it and stuff. This has been fantastic. Claude, thank you very much. I know our listeners are really going to get a lot from this. And like I said, what I love about this is just that, you know, at 56, you accomplish so much in your 30s and in your 40s, but at 56, I mean, you're fucking killing it, and you're going to keep doing it, right? And to me, that's the message. The biggest message is there's lots to do, guys. So thank you very much, brother.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thanks, guys. Listen, guys, if do me a favor, head on over to iTunes, give us a 5-star rating. If you have any questions, like I said, in the show notes, we're going to have Claude's contact information. So if you have any questions about what we talked about or you're interested, you're going to be able to contact him directly and stuff. And something tells me I'll be back here and maybe get some Kaatsu training on my shoulders and triceps and stuff like that. And I'll talk to you guys later.